Who all here loves to daydream? This is my favorite question I love to ask the children. And as you can imagine, they will almost always answer yes with much rigor and passion. The story I'm here to share with you is based on the daydreams I had as a child. Hello everyone, I'm Sandra Shiwani van Doesburg, an ex-BNKSer from somewhat years ago. For most of my life in Nepal, I have spent this at BNKS. I'm grateful to have had this chance not only in terms of education, extracurricular activities, and gaining independence from such a young age, but more for creating bonds with people I hold near and dear to me. As both my parents worked in Nepal's development sector, I always wanted to create value by enhancing people's capabilities and providing opportunities to people. In grade 8, while studying economics, I decided that I wanted to work in human capital development. And I set my path in this direction, eventually graduating years later with a master's in human resource management. And now, for the past 15 years or so, I've been working in various industries in this field. But let's be clear, this was not what I ever daydreamed about. Can you imagine as a teenager daydreaming about capability building with a bunch of executives? Well, not really. I mean, I love this part of my life, but as a child, I daydreamed about stories. Stories I made up or that were an extension of my reality. I would write them down, then daydream some more, and eventually fantasize about being a writer. But honestly, never in my dreams did I think that I would be turning this into my reality. This was really something that only manifested itself in the past years. For many of us, 2020 has been quite an impactful year. So for me, particularly, the year started off great. I found out that I was pregnant with my second child. We were so overjoyed, but only to be found, in lockdown several months later, with the onset of COVID. This year in particular really honestly was like a telenovela full of drama, joy, and tragedies. I lost both of my grandparents, not due to COVID, old age and heartbreak. I almost lost my father, who had to undergo bypass surgery, who was reanimated several times, and all that while, right, being pregnant, not being able to travel, do much, feeling kind of helpless, but at the same time still having to be strong. And I would say the upside of that year was the birth of my son, and especially for his elder brother to find a partner in crime. So eventually, when 2021 knocked on our door, I thought, hey, this is a new start. But in January, my father had a stroke. And then a week or so later, I actually lost my job. And at this point, I really, it was a hard time. I really thought I would lose myself. There was too much. I hadn't had enough. I could not stay strong anymore as a mother, a wife, a daughter, a sibling, and even a friend. Honestly, I had had enough. And in this dark period in my life, with some gentle nudge from my husband, my daydream gave me its flicker of hope. And now here I am, talking to you all about my story about how I set up my company to create meaningful children's story. For a child, fitting in and feeling like you belong plays a significant role, in how they grow up. And I think at one point in our lives, we've all felt different or like we don't belong. I mean, for sure I did. And if I think back at my days, you're like 8 or 9, right? When we started at BNKS, I think a lot there being away from your family, exploring, and luckily you have friends that you can kind of go through this change in your life, right? But sometimes I also really did wish that, someone told me it was fine. It was fine to feel different or like we don't belong. And so I really hope that with the stories that we create, that I want to create this space where differences can be shared and be celebrated. And honestly, as I raise my children as a parent, I also feel I need this space to explore my emotions and understand how I can learn from them, how I can learn from other parents, how can I also grow working as my kid grows, right, with teachers and whatnot. And I think there is beauty in all of this, right, in this journey of kind of creating meaningful stories. So when I started this journey, I did my research, and obviously, the children's book industry is quite saturated. There are tons of books available, especially now with, a lot of things like, print to demand, self-publishing, and of recent, right, the recent AI tools and whatnot, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. However, I did feel, hey, if I'm going to do this, what do I need to do more of, or what do I need to do differently? So I really asked myself, how can we ensure that the quality and the purpose behind the stories are meaningful? So combining my background in creating learning journeys for adults and my passion for storytelling, I really want to bring children closer to experiencing their own learning journey, right? To understand how they can navigate through all these different environments and situations, right? And help them shape them into becoming someone who is curious, someone who's also self-aware, but also confident, right? And I think that they can navigate the world with empathy, with trust, and with humor. So now I've talked a lot about this, right? But let me tell you a little bit about the two books that we launched last year. The first book is Namaste. This is a picture book that introduces, the little ones and their caretakers to Nepal using beautiful illustrations of plants and animals and patterns from Nepal. This is a book for newborns to 3-year-olds and has been illustrated by Karuna Giri. The second book is called Are You a Snow Leopard? This is a picture book that captures a story of a lonely snow leopard, who's looking for a friend who looks just like her. This book also introduces children to rare and endangered animals in the Himalayan region. This book is targeted for 2 to 5-year-olds, is illustrated by Kanchan Buratoki and written by myself. With both Karuna and with Kanchan, we're also journeying through parenthood together, making it even more special to create children books. Next year, I'm looking to launch 3 more books together, one with Kanchan, one with Manisha, and another one with Niranjan Dai. I mentioned earlier that through BNKS, I've made bonds that I hold near and dear to me. So I also want to take this chance to say that Kanchan, Karuna, Manisha, Niranjan Dai, they're all from BNKS, and they have played an immense role in turning this daydream into a reality. And without them, none of this can kind of come together. But also, I'm very grateful to have friends, who have given voices to our stories, by sharing, by talking about it, and also especially to inviting us to such forums, right, to engage with you all and to share our story as well. So what can I say? Life is full of daydreams. Some may just be daydreams, while others may be our inner voice telling us to be curious and self-aware and confident, to go out and to take a chance on ourselves. I really, really wish I could have been there with you all today to feel your energy and engagement. I'm definitely thankful for, to have gotten this chance to share my story, even if it's with this recorded video, which feels very, very weird. But I hope one day soon that I'll get to also hear all of your stories. So thank you so much, and let me know what you think of the books. Thank you. Bye.